Welcome to this week's DV quiz, and this week DV stands for Dig's Vikings. My name's Manda Forster, this is Snorri, and we're going to give you 4 whole rounds of Viking questions plus 1 mystery object round. We've come prepared with a gin and tonic and Viking boatload of snacks. Snorri doesn't drink, so he hasn't got anything. He also didn't get the memo about Viking horns on helmets, but what can you do, eh? So, our first round, round 1, Vikings, Raiders, Traders, and Lawmakers. This round is for 5 points. Overall as well, I should say, there's a maximum of 27 points, so there's a whopper of a score waiting for you if you get them all right. Round 1, question 1. Vikings hit the international headlines when they start causing trouble across Europe. In AD 793, the ravages of heathen men miserably destroyed God's church. On which island of the British coast? So I'll repeat the question. Vikings hit the international headlines when they start causing trouble across Europe. In AD 793, the ravages of heathen men miserably destroyed God's church. On which island of the British coast? I'll just let you answer that while I have a snack. So, question 2. Which of the following came first? A. Viking raiders hit France. B. Iceland was first discovered by the Vikings. Or C. A pretty bad crew of Vikings were spotted off the southern English coast. So, to repeat that, question 2, which of the following came first? A. Viking raiders hit France. B. Iceland was first discovered by Vikings. Or C. A bad crew of Vikings was spotted off the southern English coast. Question number 3. Which of these towns, famous for being centres of Viking trade, was established first? Was it A. Dublin in Ireland, B. Birka in Sweden, C. Hedeby in Jutland, D. York in England, or E. Kaupang in Norway? So I'll repeat the question. Question 3, which of these towns, famous for being centres of Viking trade, was established first? Was it A. Dublin in Ireland, B. Birka in Sweden, C. Hedeby in Jutland, D. York in England, or E. Kaupang in Norway? What do you think, Snorri? Any thoughts? Oh, doesn't really think very much, does he? Okay, are we ready for question 4? Vikings are well known for raiding, pillaging, and generally making a nuisance of themselves. But Viking society was built on a well-organised system of law and order. The question is, can you name the common title for sites where elites and community members would assemble to perform the politics of the day? So the question is, can you name the common title for sites where elites and community members would assemble to perform the politics of the day? And for your bonus points in this round, can you name the location of the longest running example of this type of site? which has been in use for political assembly for over 1,000 years. So, for the bonus point, the question is, can you name the location of the longest running example of this type of site, which has been in use for political assembly for over 1,000 years? And the type of site I mean, related to question 4, sites where elites and community members would assemble to perform the politics of the day. Time for a snack. Particularly crunchy one, that one. So how do you think you did? There were 5 questions in total, 5 points, including that bonus point. Time to move on to round 2. Round 2. This one's all about Viking ships, and there's 7 points to play for. So, question 1. Can you name this Viking ship? So, to repeat the question, question 1, can you name this Viking ship? It's not usually there. And question 2, where in Denmark can you find a group of 5 scuttled Viking ships? So question 2, where in Denmark can you find a group of 5 scuttled Viking ships? Do you know, Snorri? Any ideas? Fascinated by the technology. Question number 3. On which Scottish island have archaeologists located a Viking boatyard? On which Scottish island have archaeologists located a Viking boatyard? It's a Viking boat. So relevant. So, question 4. Listen up, Snorri. Where does this scene of Viking ships with armed warriors under full sail come from? I'll repeat the question. Where does this scene, this one, of Viking ships with armed warriors under full sail come from? Now look closely. For an amazing 3 bonus points. A, where were the ships heading? B, whose fleet do they belong to? And C, what year is it? So, for the 3 bonus points, the question is, A, where are the boats heading? B, whose fleet do they belong to? And C, what year is it? Got that? There's a whole 7 points in that round, so think wisely, friends, think wisely. Time to move on to another round. Right then, Snorri, we're in round 3. The Vikings at home and abroad. You'll know all about this, won't you? It doesn't say much, does it? So, question 1, round 3. The chieftain's house at Borg in the Lofoten Islands of Norway is one of the biggest examples of a Viking longhouse in Europe. But how big is it? So I'll repeat the question. The chieftain's house at Borg in the Lofoten Islands of Norway is one of the biggest examples of a Viking longhouse in Europe. But just how big is it? And you'll be pleased to know this is a multi-choice question. So your options are A, is it 33 metres in length? B, is it 58 metres in length? C, is it 83 metres in length? Or D, is it a whopping 102 metres in length? So your options are A, was it 33 metres in length? B, was it 58 metres in length? C, was it 83 metres in length? Or is it D, 102 metres in length? Have you been there, Snorri? Still no. You got it? Have you guessed? Okay, question number 2. What is the name of the Viking ring fortress located near to Slagelse in West Zealand, Denmark? That's Slagelse, which I might not be pronouncing correctly. So question 2, what is the name of the Viking ring fortress located near to Slagelse in West Zealand, Denmark? I suppose I could spell it for you. The spelling is S-L-A-G-E-L-S-E, Slagelse. Cheers. Question 3. This is another picture question. So, what is this a picture of? I suppose a more accurate way of asking would be, what is this picture an example of? So question number 3, what is this picture an example of? If it helps, I stumbled across this example during a visit to an estate in the Lake District in the northwest of England. It's a small clue, but it's a clue nonetheless. So question 4. Which 2 Viking vandals tagged the Hagia Sophia in Istanbul by carving their names into the marble? Could you believe that people do that sort of thing? So which 2 Viking vandals tagged the Hagia Sophia in Istanbul by carving their names into the marble? And again, this is a multi-choice question. So was it A, Ulf and Otto, B, Halfdan and Ari, C, Gorm and Fruda, or D, Laurel and Hardy? Which ones do you think it was, Snorri? I guess, did you know any of them? Maybe 1 or 2? Just a hint. Wow. So the question is, which 2 Viking vandals tagged the Hagia Sophia in Istanbul by carving their names into the marble? Was it A, Ulf and Otto, B, Halfdan and Ari, C, Gorm and Fruda, or D, Laurel and Hardy? More snacks, I think. Oh, doesn't want one. And finally, on the note of graffiti and Vikings, this is a bonus question. What is the name of the tomb in Orkney which has numerous examples of Viking graffiti? So for your bonus question, what is the name of the tomb in Orkney which has numerous examples of Viking graffiti? And if you've been there, you'll know all about it. Okay, So in this round, there were 5 points available. I hope you did well. Let's see what happens in the next round. Right then, how are you doing? This is our penultimate round. So drinks at the ready, please. This round is called Vikings in the Modern World. And to demonstrate this, Snorri has put on his DigVentures beanie hat just to show how cool and modern he is. I think it works. So round 4, Vikings in the Modern World. Now again, you've got 7 points to go for in this round, so listen in. Question 1. Which professional American football team is real? Is it A, the Las Vegas Vikings, B, the Jacksonville Vikings, C, the Minnesota Vikings, or D, the Cincinnati Vikings? They could all be true, but they're not, just one. So, question 1. Which professional American football team is real? The Las Vegas Vikings, the Jacksonville Vikings, the Minnesota Vikings, or the Cincinnati Vikings? Question 2. Okay. Which character did Kirk Douglas play in the 1958 film The Vikings? Question 2. Which character did Kirk Douglas play in the 1958 film The Vikings? And to give you a sporting chance, here are the options. A, was it Eric the Eel? B, Eric the Red? C, Eric the Half a Bee? Or D, Eric the Victorious? So I'll repeat the question. Which character did Kirk Douglas play in the 1958 film The Vikings? Was it A, Eric the Eel? B, Eric the Red? C, Eric the Half a Bee? Or D, Eric the Victorious? Again, just one option applies. Have you seen that film, Snorri? It's difficult working with puppets. So, shall we move on to question 3? Which author admitted to be heavily influenced by Norse mythology? Again, we have multiple choice questions. Which author admitted to be heavily influenced by Norse mythology? Was it A, J.K. Rowling, who imagined the world of witches, wizards, and all sorts of fantastic creatures through the Harry Potter series? Or was it B, American writer J.D. Salinger, author of Catcher in the Rye? Could it have been C, J.R.R. Tolkien, who invented the world of The Hobbit? And finally, could it have been D, J.B. Priestley, author, playwright, and Yorkshireman? So the question again, which author admitted to be heavily influenced by Norse mythology? And your options are A, was it J.K. Rowling? B, was it J.D. Salinger? C, was it J.R.R. Tolkien? Or D, was it J.B. Priestley? Have you read the Harry Potter books? Nope. Fair enough. Very crunchy. So finally, in this round, question 4. In 2011, Marvel Studios released an American superhero film based on Norse mythology. Which film was it? So, question 4. In 2011, Marvel Studios released an American superhero film based on Norse mythology. Which film was it? Nice and easy one, that, eh? Finally, for 3 bonus points related to this question, can you answer the following? These are all about the film, which hopefully you've managed to name. A, who played the eponymous hero of the film? So which actor played the eponymous hero of the film? B, in the film, which of the Norse gods is the lead character's trickster nemesis and adopted half-brother? So B, in the film, which of the Norse gods is the lead character's trickster nemesis and adopted half-brother? And C, finally, in real Norse mythology, what is the name of the weapon which our hero is most well known for using? So, bonus questions. A, who played the eponymous hero of the film? Have you got it yet? B, in the film, which of the Norse gods is the lead character's trickster nemesis and adopted half-brother? And C, in real Norse mythology, what is the name of the weapon which our hero from the film is most well known for using? How did you get on? 7 out of 7, perhaps? I hope so. So that is the end of round 4. And now we've got round 5, which is the mystery object round. Let's just take a quick break. So, small interval, time for top up, maybe a toilet break. We thought we'd just chat, maybe have a go at some Viking riddles. What do you think? Snorri? There's a whole series of riddles in one of the sagas, the Icelandic tale, which is known as the Hvarara saga, and contains the story of Gestumblindi and King Heydrich. So the king is a bit peeved with Gestumblindi and actually wants to kill him. But Gestumblindi decides to make a sacrifice to the Norse god Odin and asks for his help. He doesn't want to be executed. Odin arrives, takes on the form of Gestumblindi and goes himself to meet the king. He then, being the clever-witted god that he is, challenges King Heydrich to a contest of wisdom using the power of riddles. And here are some of those riddles. See if you can solve them. So, number 1. There's no points here, so this is just a guessing game. Would that I had now what I had yesterday. Find out what that was. Mankind it mars, speech it hinders, yet speech it will inspire. This riddle ponder, O Prince Hedrick. What do you think the answer might be? Would that I had now what I had yesterday. Find out what that was. Mankind it mars, speech it hinders, yet speech it will inspire. This riddle ponder, O Prince Hedrick. So, something that doesn't really help, something that stops you speaking marvellously, but at the same time can be quite an inspiration. What could that be, Snorri? Any ideas? Just having a think there. Could it be fire or water or something else? Any clues? Well, Odin was talking about ale. There you go. A bit of beer, a drop of alcohol. Mars, all the work that you do, makes you speak a little bit funny, but can inspire the greatest of speeches. So there you go. One of Odin's riddles. Time for the final round. Welcome back. We've moved. Snorri. Hold on. Snorri. Okay, we're here. So, mystery object time. This is the object. Now then, your guess. Let's see. I'll show you a closer look. Now, it's quite heavy. It's got things carved into the side. And these are actually two fragments from the same object. So it's just broken and fractured. Have a good look. It's got carvings like rectangular shape. It's got one on this side here. You can see where it's broken. And you can see there, if I sit behind it, you can see how the profile of the shape as well. Now, it's got one of these cut into 3 of its sides. And this is the second here. But on this side, there's nothing at all. This is completely flat. But you can still just make out some faint working marks. So it's not entirely natural. But what do you think it could be? The other thing to look at is this end here. You can see again here some more lines. Not natural, but worked. So, 4 sides. Long, thin object. I can tell you that it was found from a Viking period context at a site in Orkney, where an important person would have lived at some time, and is part of an assemblage of finds that I've been lucky enough to be looking at. But that's all really. What do you think it is? There's some bonus points linked to this as well. So, first of all, 1, what is this? So, in its current or most recent form, imagine it's not broken, what is this object? What would it have been used for? Secondly, what material do you think it's been made out of? So, what is the material it's made out of? And this is the specific material as well. There's no easy points here. And then finally, what was the object originally? So the really interesting thing about this find is it's recycled. It's an object which has been created from a broken fragment from something else. So your 3 questions are, 1, what is this object? What was it used for? 2, what's it made from? And let's be specific. And 3, what was its original use? So 1, what is the object? 2, what is it made from? And 3, what was its original use? Any ideas, Snorri? Where have you gone? Have you disappeared? Honestly, you just can't keep the staff these days. And welcome to the answers. Have you got your pencils at the ready? We're looking for a maximum of 27 points. 5 of them from round 1. Let's go through the questions. So, question number 1. Vikings hit the international headlines when they start causing trouble across Europe. In AD 793, the ravages of heathen men miserably destroyed God's church on which island of the British coast? Well, of course, the answer to this one is Lindisfarne, or Holy Island, currently the subject of a DigVentures project, no less. Phew, that one was easy, wasn't it, Snorri? We got that one. So, question number 2. Which of the following came first? Was it A, Viking raiders hit France, B, Iceland was first discovered by Vikings, or C, a bad crew of Vikings was spotted off the southern English coast? Well, if you're lucky, you'll have said the correct answer is C. Vikings were spotted off the southern English coast. This happened in 789. They were spotted by Bediherd, who was sent to say hello to them and came to a sticky end. The second of these things happened in 799, when Vikings were first recorded raiding in Gaul, or France, focused on a monastic settlement on the island of Noirmoutier. It's a good name. Finally, Iceland was discovered in approximately 870 AD, so definitely the last thing that happened in that list. Question number 3. Which of these towns, famous for being centres of Viking trade, was established first? Was it A, Dublin in Ireland, B, Birka in Sweden, C, Hedeby in Jutland, D, York in England, or E, Kaupang in Norway? Well, this was kind of a trick question, wasn't it, Snorri? It was a bit mean. So because of that, if you answered either York or Birka, you would be correct. So technically, the answer is York. It was established first, founded as Aboracum in 71 AD by the Romans. It was then established as an Anglian settlement called Iferic, before being captured in 866 by the Vikings and becoming the Viking town that we all know and love, Jorvik. Birka, however, was founded in 750 AD, so 100 years earlier also than Jorvik, and was the first centre from the list of Viking founding dates. So this could also be the correct answer. Incorrect answers include Hedeby in Jutland, which was founded in 770 AD, Kaupang, which was founded in 800 AD, and finally Dublin, founded in 841, the new town on the south bank of the Liffey, Dublin, or the Blackpool. Question number 4. Vikings are well known for raiding, pillaging, and generally making a nuisance of themselves, but Viking society was built on a well-organised system of law and order. Were you able to name the common title for sites where elites and community members would assemble to perform the politics of the day? Well, if you were, you would have said a thing site, which is the common name of a Viking assembly site. Thing names are a sure sign of some Viking decision-making, and from the magnificent grandeur of the Thingvellir in Iceland to the Lortingholm in Shetland, we know from the name that these would have been sites where the deals of the day were made. 2 of my favourite sites there. The bonus point here was to see if you could name the location of the longest running example of a thing site, which has been in use for over 1,000 years. And the answer to this is the Isle of Man. So the High Court of Tingwald, thing being the operative word there, is the Parliament of the Isle of Man, and being over 1,000 years old, could be the oldest parliament in the world with an unbroken existence. So how did you get on? Was it 5 out of 5? How did you get on? He wasn't listening. They're all keeping notes. Anyway, round 2, Viking ships. So this round you could get a maximum of 7 points. So for the first point, can you name this Viking ship? So the answer to this is the Gokstad. So the Gokstad, Gokstad, was discovered by 2 very curious teenagers in 1879 when they started digging into a mound locally known as the Kongshaugen, or the King's Mound, looking for treasure, and boy did they find it. Antiquarian Nikolai Nikolaisen heard of their discovery and put a stop to the boys' enthusiasm, later returning to undertake a more scientific excavation of the site himself. Within the ship burial was the grave of a man who died in his 40s and was around 6 foot in height. The site had previously been looted, so anything shiny had already been stolen, but for the joy of archaeologists, there were still quite a lot of finds to be found, including shields, other boats, 12 horses, and perhaps a little strangely, 2 peacocks. When in use, the Gokstad would have had a crew of 34, including 32 oarsmen and one person at the helm and one person looking out. You always need to look out. That's what Snorri says anyway. During the dig, 32 shields were found to be fixed on each side of the boat, and it truly is a wonderful boat to go and see. So if you're ever in Oslo, skip along to the Viking Ship Museum and take a look. Now, on to Denmark. Question number 2. Where in Denmark can you find a group of 5 scuttled Viking ships? So not 1, but 5. And you'd have to be in Roskilde on the display at the Roskilde Ship Museum to find these 5 boats. The Skudelev ships are 5 Viking period ships thought to have been deliberately sunk in the Roskilde Fjord in Denmark. They were excavated in 1962 and known to have been constructed through dendrochronological dating between 1030 and 1042. The boats were not all constructed nearby. One of them certainly was, but 2 of the ships were built in Western Norway, and one of them was actually built in the Dublin area of Ireland around 1042. On to question 3. So, on which Scottish island have archaeologists located a Viking boatyard? And the answer to this is the Isle of Skye. So the site at Ruandunnen, which has been canalised to create access into a boatyard, has been discovered, and it's an amazing site. So do Google it and look it up, because there's actually a few flyovers so you can have a look at the site and look at reconstructions as well. Timbers recovered there have been dated to 1100. And think of it as the motorway service station of the 12th century, but maybe with a better view. Question number 4. Where does this scene, I think it's probably over here, this scene of the Viking ships with armed warriors under full sail come from? So the answer to this is the Bayeux Tapestry. And for 3 bonus points: A, where are the ships heading? B, whose fleet do they belong to? And C, what year is it? So the answer is the Bayeux Tapestry. This dates to the late 11th century and is a whopping 68.3 metres of history told through the medium of narrative embroidery. Who'd have thought it? The answers to the bonus questions are: the ships were heading to England for the purposes of conquest, and B, the owner of the fleet was William the Conqueror, Duke of Normandy, off to conquer, and the date is 1066. So how did you get on? 7 out of 7? Right then, everyone, round 3 answers at the ready. You might already have 13 points if you've done well in rounds 1 and 2, and in round 3 you can get another 5. So refresh your glasses. I've moved on to mead, a bit more drink of the period, I think, and fill up your snacks. So question number 1 was: the chieftain's house at Borg in the Lofoten Islands of Norway is one of the biggest examples of a Viking longhouse in Europe, but just how big was it? Or is it? The answers came from a multiple choice list of A, 33 metres in length, B, 58 metres in length, C, 83 metres in length, or D, 102 metres in length. So which one of those was it? Well, you would be right if you said C, 83 metres in length. The excavations at Borg began in 1983 and then were undertaken from 1986 to 1989. The site is located in Vestvågøy, the second largest of the Lofoten Islands. The dig discovered a chieftain's house thought to have been established in 500 AD and occupied for many generations. It was redeveloped in the 700s and clearly belonged to a rich and powerful family with material culture including glass, jet, amber and gold, showing links to England, Europe, Germany and Turkey. Cracking site which I've never been to, but one day I hope I will. Number 2, what is the name of the Viking ring fortress located near to Slagelse in West Zealand, Denmark? Well, the answer to this one was Trelleborg, the Trelleborg ring fortress. The site includes an inner fortress consisting of a perfectly circular rampart, 136 metres in diameter, which was thought to have been constructed from wood felled between August 980 and May 981. The site contains traces of 16 longhouses on the inner fortress, and then within the outer fortress, or the bailey, 15 further longhouses. So although it's not known with any certainty, the site could have housed between 500 and 800 Vikings, all in one place. Imagine the racket. So number 3, what is this? I think it was over here. This. What was this an example of, or what is this an example of? And this is something that I found in the Lake District. Well, I didn't find it. I visited a site and they had it on display. So this is an example of a hogback stone. And I took this picture in Lowther Estate, which is always worth a visit if you're nearby. These stones are a great example of distinctive material culture which develops within specific regions where different groups and cultures just collide. Hogbacks are a distinctive group of 10th to early 11th century stone sculpture developed out of Hiberno-Norse influence and settlement, and are specifically or especially linked to northern England and southern Scotland. Question number 4. Which 2 Viking vandals tagged the Hagia Sophia in Istanbul by carving their names into the marble? So the options here were A. Ulf and Otter, B. Halfdan and Ari, C. Gorm and Froda, or D. Laurel and Hardy. Well, if you got D, you were slightly far removed from the truth. But the true answer is, look at the pic here, Halfdan and Ari. The first inscription was discovered in 1964 on a parapet on the top floor of the southern gallery of the Hagia Sophia. The inscription is not well preserved, which you can see from this photo, which I took, and I apologise that it's not great, but the lighting was awful. But only a fragment of this can be deciphered, which says Alfden, so the name is thought to be Halfdan. The second inscription was discovered in 1975 in a niche in the western part of the same gallery and contains the name Ari or Oni. You might ask why Vikings were in Istanbul. Were they on holiday, or was it more of a working holiday, perhaps? Snorri's not going to tell us, is he? Probably more of a working holiday. Vikings, perhaps via Russia, would have been present as members of the Varangian Guard, first created in the Byzantine Empire under Basil II in the 10th century. On to the bonus point in this round. What was the name of the tomb in Orkney, which has numerous examples of Viking graffiti? And the answer to this, another one of my favourite sites, is Maes Howe in Orkney, with over 30 inscriptions of Viking graffiti, makes it one of the largest and most famous collections of runes known in Europe. Some of the inscriptions are really quite interesting, and it's definitely worth looking them up. So how did you do? 5 out of 5? Are you up to 18 already? Let's move on to round 4. Maybe have a sip of this mead. Keep us flowing. So, round 4, Vikings in the modern world. 7 points up for grabs in this one, so it was worth listening. Question number 1. Which professional American football team is real? A, the Las Vegas Vikings, B, the Jacksonville Vikings, C, the Minnesota Vikings, or D, the Cincinnati Vikings? Nope. C, the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings mascot, Victor the Viking, is a muscle-bound, blonde-haired and mustachioed character who... Wait a minute. Who dons a Vikings #1 jersey and an oversized Vikings helmet with the protruding horns and a small yellow nose guard. Oh, actually, he's not Victor. Still Snorri. Question number 2. Which character did Kirk Douglas play in the 1958 film The Vikings? So, which character did Kirk Douglas play in the 1958 film The Vikings? And the answer was either A, Eric the Eel, B, Eric the Red, C, Eric the Half a Bee, or D, Eric the Victorious. And the answer is, of course, Eric the Red. Full name, Eric Thorvaldsson, was apparently born in 950 and died from an epidemic in 1003. He is known from Icelandic sagas as the founder of the first settlement in Greenland, where he is purported to have named, to make it sound a little bit more enticing to other settlers, the land of green things. I'm on my way. The archaeological site of Brattahlid, a farmstead with a chapel in North Greenland's eastern settlement, that's a bit of a tongue twister, that one, has been associated with Eric the Red. Eric's son, Leif Erikson, inherited his father's pioneering spirit and went on to explore North America in around 1002. Incidentally, Eric the Victorious is actually a Viking as well. He's a Swedish king from around 970 who married Sigrid the Haughty. It didn't last. And incidentally, Eric the Halfabee was the subject of a Monty Python song in 1972, and Eric the Eel, full name Eric Musambi Malonga, is from Equatorial Guinea and competed as a swimmer in the 2020 Sydney Olympics. Question number 3. Which author admitted to be heavily influenced by Norse mythology? Was it J.K. Rowling, J.D. Salinger, J.R.R. Tolkien, or J.B. Priestley? And the answer is J.R. Tolkien, of course. He loved his Norse mythology. Although he grew up in Birmingham, a wonderful place, but fairly devoid of Viking archaeology, Tolkien read and translated the Old Norse myths in his free time. Our favourite wizard, the great Gandalf himself, is based on the Norse deity Odin. Incidentally, J.B. Priestley, man from Yorkshire, married archaeologist Jacquetta Hawkes in 1953. Jacquetta was the author of The Land, which was published in 1951, of which she said, "I have used the findings of the two sciences of geology and archaeology for purposes altogether unscientific." Good work, Jacquetta. So, on to question 4. In 2011, Marvel Studios released an American superhero film based on Norse mythology. Which film was it? And if you had it, the answer was Thor. But did you get the 3 bonus points? Who played the eponymous hero of the film Thor? B. In the film, which of the Norse gods is the lead character's trickster nemesis and adopted half-brother? And C. In real Norse mythology, what is the name of the weapon which our hero is most well known for using? So, for 3 bonus points, A. Who played the eponymous hero of the film Thor? And the answer is Chris Hemsworth, who plays the mighty Thor himself. B. In the film Thor, which of the Norse gods is the lead character's trickster nemesis and adopted half-brother? And the answer to this one is Loki, who was played by Tom Hiddleston. That's just a fact. There's no points there. Just get a point if you say Loki. In real Norse mythology, what is the name of the weapon which our hero, Thor, is most well known for using? And the answer to this one is Mjolnir. And of course, Thor's weapon of choice was a hammer, and that hammer was called Mjolnir, which you might see here. Not sure if I pronounced that one right. So if you got all the questions right in that round, that would give you another 7 points. And now finally onto our mystery object. Let's go and take a look. So here we are. Oh, excuse me. Here we are back on the other side of the room looking at our mystery object. Did you guess what it was? So what we asked was, 1, what is it? And the answer to that is, excuse me, glass is falling off. The answer to that is, it's an ingot mould. And each one of these ingot gates would have been for pouring hot molten metal into. So lead, possibly silver, to create an ingot of that material. So the second question here was B, what is this made of? And actually, this is a material that I know and love quite well, because this is my area of expertise, which I mentioned right at the beginning of the quiz, which is soapstone objects. And this is actually a soapstone handle. It's had these ingot gates carved into it, and the reason that soapstone was used for this sort of find is that it has really high thermal capacity, which means you can pour molten metal into it and it won't break, and also it's very soft, so it can be carved, so it's quite useful for things like molds and small objects, as well as bigger objects as well, like vessels. And that brings us on to C. the final mystery object question, which was what did it used to be? Snorri's gone to sleep. Wake up, Snorri. And the answer to that was it used to be a long-handled vessel. So this portion here is actually the handle to a kind of like a ladle vessel. So this inner bit here where you can see these stripes are actually the original inside face from a bowl vessel, which would have been at the end, and which I hope you can see a picture of. So, how did you get on? Was it 3 out of 3 with the mystery object? Is it time to tally up the results? Let's see. So, how did you get on? 27 points in total. Are you the true winner of the Viking quiz? It doesn't really matter how many points you got, as long as you've had a good time. We've enjoyed a drink together. We've eaten some snacks. Tasty they were too. And you've learned a little bit about the Vikings. So we'll see you next week for the next DigVentures quiz. And in between then and now, I hope you have a fabulous week. So bye-bye from me and bye-bye from Snorri. Snorri, are you gonna... I'm still not gonna say anything, are you? Just one little ounce of effort. He's really not trying, but I think he's gonna come and say goodbye in his own special, well, oh, Snorri, okay, well, bye then, see you later.